Welcome to the Long Distance Pizza Party podcast with your hosts, Nathan, Strange, Crad, SillyBoy, Talon, and Sketchbird. We are the only Christian podcast out there on the internet. Totally.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Long Distance Pizza Party podcast, episode 4. Episode 4. My name's Nathan, and with us today we have a special guest. We have that Christain Geek. Wow, crap. That Christain Geek. My bad.
He also knows Greek, apparently.
Yeah, that. We also have Crad, and we have Strange to Society. You guys missed all the technical difficulties, all on my part, before the episode. But yeah, that's a good thing that was happening before, not during. But I'm doing. Whoops. All right, we're good. All right, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. How is everyone doing?
I am currently battling either a tonsil infection or mono. Not sure which, but
Nice.
That's not fun.
Yeah.
no. But I had to keep my streak going, being here every episode. So,
Right.
but prayers appreciated.
Yeah, I just got done being sick, so
Same.
yeah.
I got sick like the day after our last recording. Like it was just chest congestion. I got it early this year, so it's nice.
Well,
So-
I knew you. I prayed to God that night because I went back and found out you dissed Power Rangers, and so I was like,
Oh, geez, maybe that's it.
Lord, no, I was kidding.
Here's the thing. For a disclaimer, I don't dislike Power Rangers. I just don't like the show. It wasn't for me. I'm currently looking at the small Power Rangers collection I have from Hasbro. So
Just playing, man. Just playing.
yeah, oh yeah. But
So you like the aesthetic, just not the writing.
yes, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Is the aesthetic?
Mhm.
It's a good way to put it. But the conceit of today's episode was a session by Strange, and what was it? Content creators being Christians, or like to something of that degree. It was one of your suggestions.
I had several suggestions.
Or being a content creator, being a Christian. It was something along that vein.
I don't remember suggesting that one.
I think that might have been me, actually.
Maybe it was Crad. I think it was maybe. I don't know. But that was kind
Either
of
way.
that was kind of the suggestion. I was like, that'd be a perfect episode to have.
That was Crad.
Jake on. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, that'd be a perfect episode to have Jake on. Because if people don't know, we try to mention every episode. If you want to join, link is down below. That we are part of that or those Christian Geeks. Which
There's also. I didn't know you guys mentioned that every episode. That's awesome.
we tried to sometimes lost. But we
Assuming we can spell it right.
yeah, that's another thing. If you watch last week's episode, I misspelled Christian. I flipped the I and the A. So which whatever. I'll fix it for this week's episode. But going with that, Jake, do you want to explain what you do and what those Christian Geeks are?
Before we do that, I think we need to do the initiation question.
Yes.
That we ask
Oh,
everybody,
yes, that is true. That is true.
which is, what is your favorite pizza?
Well, that's my favorite pizza. Okay. I know. Are we talking brand or just what I like to get on pizza?
Both.
Okay. I know that this is going to be really, really controversial. Well, it may or may not be. I know it's controversial with my family and with my friends. But my favorite place, barring like the mom and pop, hometown, really high quality pizza places, like you're getting delivery, what are you getting? Is Domino's. I really like Domino's. I like the rebrand. I like that they acknowledged their pizza was garbage, and then they actually did something to change it. I love the garlic seasoning they put on the crust, and I think that for what you get price wise, I think it's the best value to quality there is out there. And when I order from them, I order a barbecue pizza with chicken and bacon.
Nice.
Nice.
And their cheddar bacon stuffed bread is amazing.
I can't hate that.
Yeah. I have a
Nope.
tendency not to review pizza items just because it's all the same. lot of it, like the different options that come out, like at Papa John's, like I think they legit had something very similar come out like back to back, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna review that. It's not on my like I keep a list with like new options come out, but like it's I don't know, it's things. Now if it's we do have a local place, I will try out every month. I do local like a monthly thing each month, like a different flavor profile that they do. That'll do. But like everything else, it's just like it really has to be interesting for me to try. Like when Little Caesars did like the Batman calzone.
I wanted to try that so bad. I didn't get a chance. Oh, it's kind of like Taco Bell too. Taco Bell, it's just the same 5 ingredients in different shapes.
Oh yeah, it is.
Not gonna lie, love the nacho fries from Taco Bell.
The nacho fries are good. It's the only thing that like I can eat without getting sick.
The rolled chicken tacos are good. They finally brought those back. They're amazing.
The which one?
The rolled chicken tacos.
Oh, like taquitos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right. They're cheaper than taquitos. Taquitos are expensive now. It's ridiculous.
everything's expensive now.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Touche. But yeah, going with again after that, Jake would explain what you do, like what that Christian Geek is, and to an extent what those Christian Geeks is.
Yeah, so that Christian Geek started like many interesting things during COVID. A lot of honest, I was working for this company called Social Native, where I was making it was like kind of like Uber for video production, where they would pair up filmmakers and video creators with companies, and I was making commercials for Stanford shopping centers. Or Stanford Shopping was one of them. It was Simon Shopping Centers. They're the big company that owns like the Great Mall and I think the Mall of America and all these different malls all around the country. The largest shopping center, a lot of outlets and premium outlets and stuff like that. And I was making commercials for them, and then TikTok comes around and starts growing in popularity. And my rep for Social Native contacts me and goes, "Hey, we're gonna start doing a lot of promotions with TikTok, so you might want to make one." And so I made one just under my name, and I made a couple videos, and one of them went super viral. And that was, do you remember when, what was it? The Rise of Skywalker came out, and that scene where Kylo Ren reaches back and pulls his lightsaber out?
Yes.
From behind his back.
That trend.
Remember that everyone was like pulling random things out from behind their back?
Yes.
Yeah, so I did that trend, and it ended with a joke that wouldn't be very on brand for me now. And I have made some. I'm not like, what's what I try to use. I'm not always the most wholesome, but I'm not crass. And so it was kind of a joke in that vein that would not necessarily be on brand now, but I would probably still make that joke now, depending on the situation. But that went super viral, and I got like 11,000 followers on that TikTok, and then I made another one called That Bible Guy, and that was just all Christian content. But then That Bible Guy blew up and got like 50,000 followers, and so I was like, okay, I keep having to sign you this before you could have multiple accounts signed in at once, and so I was having to switch back and forth a lot. And then they started monetizing, but you can only have, one phone number attached to your account. So you can only really monetize one account. And so I decided to just combine them and create That Christian Geek. Combine the two accounts under That Bible Guy and pursue doing both geek content and Christian content under the same logo. And that seemed to really resonate with people. And I got a lot of followers. I'm up to like 255,000 now. And decided, I kind of want to do this full time. I'm still nowhere near that yet. But I was like, okay, what's a way I could do this, encourage other Christian geeks, and kind of turn this into a full-time gig? And that was Those Christian Geeks, and which is a fan club of Christian geeks, where we just, our community, we share stories with each other. We collab. Obviously, this podcast kind of came out of that. We are going to start tabling at more events. And actually, to officially announce this, I haven't said this anywhere else except to my family.
Exclusive.
We are going to exclusive. I genuinely saved this for you guys because I didn't put it on the Discord server or anything. We are going to be at Fan Expo
Nice.
this year in San Francisco, which is the biggest con in the Bay Area. And that's
Nice.
really awesome. They gave us a free table, which is really cool. And so, because we could, where we are now, we'd never be able to afford that table. And luckily, I was able to swing getting a free table. So we will be at Fan Expo this year, and it's just about creating a community where both we can show people around us that not all Christians are these crazy anti comic book and media people, because that's where another part where the club sort of spawned out of. That was the core inspiration of the club. Was I would go to conventions and see these people protesting the comic conventions,
Right.
and like not just like proselytizing, not just like handing out tracts, but like telling people they're devil worshiping for wearing cosplay, stuff like that. And I was like, I want to show people a different side of Christians at these cons, without compromising theology or core values, but still show them the true loving side of being a Christian. And that's just what has emerged, and it's been really great. There's the response to our first con we had a few months ago was really great, and we're growing. Ever since the baby came along, I've had a hard time, balancing that. For those of you out there that don't know, my wife gave birth to our first kid, a daughter named Mia. And we're kind of picking up steam again. And in fact, when we're done with this, I'm going to be finishing up the weekly Bible study.
Nice.
To post up. But yeah, that is the short history.
Nice. That just reminded me, you talk about protests. I went to Winter Jam one year. I think it was my first year going to Winter Jam. So I was like 15. And we went with our pastor's son, who was a youth pastor at the time, with his wife and his cousin and his wife, who now do our young adult group at church. And there was like protesters there for some reason. But I think Red was there that year. They're one of so they were protesting just Red, the band Red, out of all the other group of everyone else that was there. It was
Winter Jam just a secular music festival, or is it a Christian music festival?
Yeah, it's a Christian music festival, and it's like for $10 you get 10 different musicians.
Huh.
And Red was the bigger ones that were there, and they are known for being more of like the harder rock out of everyone else that was there. And it was weird, I was only 15, so I'm like, it was right when I was getting into like the Christian rock scene.
Yeah.
That's kind of my introduction to it, and I was like really getting into it. Like, so I knew who Red was, but I haven't heard a lot of their music. And I was like, so why are they here protesting?
It's absurd. It's crazy. There's so much that we as Christians kind of do oppose culture with, but going and yelling at people on the street, it's not what Jesus did. It's not what any of the disciples did. The disciples went and they built relationships with people. You look at Paul, a lot of what Paul did was witnessing to people while he sold tents. People don't realize that, but Paul had a full-time job that kept him funded during his missionary trips, along with donations. But he would go to the markets, and that's where he did his witnessing. And then he would go to the synagogue. But the synagogue, those were supposed to be his people. Those were supposed to be the people who were looking for the Messiah, and he was going there to tell them, hey, Messiah is here. So you never see Paul going and shouting at people. Every once in a while you see like the demon-possessed girl who was following them around and shouting at them, and then he turns around and rebukes her publicly after a long day of being harassed. And then you see him giving a speech at the statue of the nameless God, which he uses to segue into this is my God. This is the God you're looking for. And uses that as a way to parlay into the gospel. But you never see him getting up on a box and just yelling at passerbys.
Right.
If you want to reach people, you need to reach them where they're at, right?
Yeah.
You can't just condemn them and do all of that stuff. And you have to present yourself in a way, I believe it's in one of the Timothys, be prepared to have an answer for when people, I'm paraphrasing here, but to explain the joy that you have within yourself. And if you're not expressing that joy, and you're expressing all this anger and hate, does anybody really even want to be a part of what you're doing? Right. So yeah, the protesting and the yelling and everything else, I don't understand how people think that is a good way to present the gospel.
No,
Yeah.
But
well, then you kind of give them like the pointing finger. You kind of give them what they're trying to prove. You yelling them kind of gives them what they're like that like the what I'm trying to think of. You're giving them that reason to have
essentially.
that. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
kind of goes with, we had a comment on YouTube the other day. It was just, oh look, we got some more Bible thumpers on one of our shorts from our second episode.
Oh yeah.
So we're towards the end, we had a whole conversation about about salvation. We had a pretty lengthy conversation, and someone had commented on that, which I found interesting. I didn't comment on it. I saw no point on commenting on it.
It's hard. The Bible says, a gentle answer turns away wrath for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
We should always be the gentle ones. The Bible says to be as gentle as a dove, as cunning as a snake. So we should be wise and intelligent in our arguments and the way we present information, but we also need to be gentle. And yeah, it's something we've kind of lost, because I think for us, as we all from the I mean, we're all either from the US or, I don't hear a Canadian accent in here.
A.
Huh?
Said A.
Brad's been hiding it the whole time.
But either way, even if there was Canadian, my point is, growing up in the culture we have in North America, Christianity has kind of been the cultural default, even if that's not a genuine faith. But our ideology, our laws are built on Christian ideology. Our founding fathers were either Christians or deists, so it's been the default. And so it became very easy for people to be like, oh, if you're not a Christian, then you're on the outskirts. And now we're getting to a place where genuine Christians have learned, oh, just talk down to them and shame them into it. Now, obviously, we need to be honest about sin. We need to be honest about that, because you don't know you need a savior unless you know that you need to be saved from something. But this venomous kind of proselytizing has become very popular in America, to try and either anger people into salvation or scare people into salvation.
Right.
Well, there's the old analogy talking about you get more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Right.
Scripture actually came to mind while you were talking, Jake. Paul said this in 1 Corinthians 9:22. To the weak became I as weak, that I may gain the weak. I made all things to all men, that I may by all means save some. Growing up, you said you're in San Francisco, I believe, correct?
Yeah, Bay Area.
Bay Area. We kind of went around, because the reason we're called the Long Distance Pizza Party Podcast is a lot of us are from different areas in the United States. I believe me and Nathan are mainly East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
I've forgotten where you from, Strange. Remember?
I'm West Coast. I'm Nevada.
Nevada. So you're all Nevada, San Francisco. So you're out that area.
Yeah.
We're from the East Coast, me and Nathan are. But growing
I'm
up,
Midwest, but like
Midwest. Well, either way,
yeah.
we're all represented. It is unfortunate today, as you said, particularly me. I'm more from the South, honestly, and so I see some kind of uniqueness more in the Bible Belt, if you will, the buckle, maybe you could say, the Bible Belt. I see a lot of that too. Where I'm from, you have people that are very adamant in what they believe, and I believe in being very adamant in what you believe, but they take it to a point where it becomes drawn into the line. It's me or them. It becomes an attitude that if you're not with me, hey, there he is. Look at that.
There he
Sorry,
is.
cut my
I had
phone.
OBS open. That's why my webcam wouldn't work.
Well, there you
OBS
go. It becomes, if you're not with me, then you're against me, and that attitude, I'm afraid, alienates people at times. And
Yeah.
I'm thankful for you starting the Christian Geeks. I came across you on TikTok. I was one of those people that came up on TikTok during COVID and all that stuff, and was liking what you were putting out. And so I'm thankful there's a community. And I told the other guys here, I had an opportunity to go to a con a couple weeks ago and meet another person that had started a community that she started. I forgot what it was
Weren't those the
called.
fangirls? It was
Yeah,
fangirls.
fangirling for Jesus or something like that, or fangirls for Jesus. So I got to meet her and talk to her briefly. So it's good to know that there is still a community out there like this, where we can, have our own thing and still let people know, what the gospel is, even in the midst of all these different fandoms and things like that. So I got to thank you for that. That's pretty cool that you've done that.
Well, I wouldn't be able to do it without all you guys. It's one thing to kind of start something like that, but if no one joins, it doesn't do anything. And it's a hard thing to try to convince people of, because it's I'm trying to kind of sell community, you know. But it takes money to run things and to make merch and to run the website. And as time goes on, I really want to grow it and give people responsibility within the group, to start going to cons that I, can't go to. I'm really kind of limited to the Bay Area. And I would love to one day have tables all over the country, and get to a point where those Christian geeks is being reached out to by conventions. In the way that I was being reached out to by conventions to go as press, And so that's kind of the goal of those Christian geeks, to encourage our fellow Christian geeks and share the love of Christ with those who we share that space with. And there's plans on the horizon, but right now they're just plans.
Granted, with everything that kind of went on this year and the new baby, there's a lot of things that got derailed. But did you expect the response that you got when you started those Christian geeks? Or
No.
did you? Okay.
And I was very overwhelmed. So the first 100 or so people who joined up are lifetime members. That was kind of like a charter deal I wanted to do to kind of get things rolling. And I was expecting a few people here or there. And basically the way that worked was they PayPal'd me $25 and I sent them a membership kit and access to the Discord. And
I was one of those.
And it was overwhelming, because I was expecting maybe 20 people, maybe. And then in the first 2 months, 100 people signed up. And I'm like, oh, crud, because I'm hand making all these ID cards. I'm printing out and writing the letters, and it was like, okay, I realized if this is going to continue to grow, this has to be a charter deal. This has to be something that I'm going to have to automate it more, and the lifetime membership thing is not going to be easy to automate. And so now we've kind of moved to a new model of a Patreon model of $5 a month. You get access to exclusive content, and you get access to the Discord server and to chats and the Bible study we do. And the $10 one gets a free gift every month. And that's made things a little easier to handle, but it's more, I had to advertise it way more. And it was nice to do that lifetime membership thing early on, because it gave us the capital to get everything we need. I needed to get, a 1.5-inch hole punch and a button maker and envelopes and all this stuff, to the point where, pretty much everything's been done at cost. We are a couple $100 in the black after getting all these members. Every month we only make like $5 to put towards that, once we take into account all the website fees and everything like that. And so it really has been a labor of love and something that I've enjoyed doing. But it's been great to see the response. And I know that if I were to start pushing it like I was pushing it in the beginning, it would continue to grow at that rate. It's just with the new baby, it's been hard to just make my normal content.
Right.
You guys might have noticed I've cut down to one video a day. And with the lack of sleep, my creativity well is a little dry. Also,
I argue that actually make you more creative, but anyway.
Well, the SAG and WGA strikes have been a real problem, because a lot of my content was movie reviews and promoting movies and talking about movies, and that I'm not supposed to do that, especially because I want to be a SAG actor someday.
I didn't realize
and a WGA writer. So
is that something they added? I didn't realize that was.
They have asked social media creators to not make promotional content for movies, free or paid or organic. That's the thing that I actually think is a bit of an overstep, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but I think that asking content creators to stop making their organic content, which is just the content they make for themselves, I think that's a little wrong. I think that you're stifling them. They are not part of SAG. They're not paying dues, but you're also not getting them jobs. So why are you forcing them to stop making the content that they kind of need? You know what I mean?
I would tend to agree with that.
No, I fully support the strikes, especially, a lot of people say, well, why are these millionaires complaining about how much they're making? But it's not the millionaires, it's the smaller people. It's the people who rely on that to, make ends meet. And that's been the hard part for them. And so I support. I'm not a big union guy, but I do support these particular protests.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't realize that was part of it. I think they can just keep adding more to it, which is totally understand. I understand. We had a conversation about this. I kind of made the point. I understand why it has to happen, and but kind of go with what you're saying. Like, it is stifling some people.
Yeah.
Like those who aren't tangentially connected to it. Like, it's.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, like people like Straw Hat Goofy, he hasn't made anything about the One Piece show. I mean, can you imagine being Straw Hat Goofy and not being able to make anything about Netflix's One Piece?
I was wondering, because I saw this video. He's talking about like work stories. I'm like, why is he talking? Oh, wait, never mind.
Yeah, he's only been doing independent stuff and foreign stuff. Yeah, and I'm too mainstream. I don't watch enough independent stuff to make content about it.
Now might be a good time.
Did you watch that? Yeah. Did you watch that live action One Piece?
I did, and here's the thing: I hadn't watched One Piece before that, so I was going into it fresh. I've watched it since. Yeah, but yeah, I watched it. I enjoyed it.
I did too. I tried to get my brother to watch it. He's like, you should watch it. He's a Naruto fan. Like, he likes some other animes, and he's like, I don't want to watch it. I'm like, I don't want to watch One Piece. I'm like, Sam, just watch the live action version. Don't watch if you want to watch the original. And he's like, well, it's too long. I'm like, you watch Naruto all the way through.
Yeah.
That's pretty long too. Like, he didn't watch Boruto. Like, he watched, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, it's daunting. It's 1,090 episodes. And my dad, he makes fun of me whenever he sees me watching anime, because he's like, you're an adult, you're 30 years old, and you're watching cartoons. And he's that kind of, but then I caught him watching Arcane, which is so hypocritical. But anyway, he loves the One Piece show. And was kind of shocked that it was an anime, which I thought it captured the vibe of an anime very well. And I thought the effects on Luffy's stretching were amazing.
Yeah, some of those actors aren't that great. Like Alvida, her actor's a little. But there's a couple actors in there where it's like, like the little. Not all. Yeah. But also, they're barely there.
Yeah, that's another thing, is Alvida's barely in it. Also, they kind of changed her up a bit to make her a little bit more cohesive with the current social climate.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I was watching that they made those changes. I have watched 25 episodes of One Piece since I watched the live action series. I found an extension for Google Chrome that allows you to speed up Hulu. And so I have been watching the episodes at 3 times speed.
No.
Yeah. I turn each episode into 7 minutes long.
Nice.
And so I've gotten through them really fast. And the changes that I saw they made, I understand why they made them. Especially because Oda was part of the whole production. No creative decision was made without his say-so. So I understand the changes that were made for that show.
Yeah. Well, you also gotta understand when One Piece is coming out, didn't know how long he was gonna go, so he just kept going and going. So like there were going like he would add stuff later, be like, yeah, well, it connects back to this. So when the show comes along, they like kind of split the difference, combine the two ideas, like to make it more cohesive. That's my argument. Is like when it comes to anime, you want to adapt it if it's a longer running one.
Yeah,
that works better where you can just like streamline something. Now, if they update, like they made a live action version of a more current anime, like maybe they come out in the last like year or two, that's a little stranger.
Yeah. I feel like Attack on Titan would need that One Piece treatment because the last 3 seasons should have been one season.
Well, they made a live action Attack on Titan movie and no one liked it.
Because it was garbage.
It was. I didn't watch it, but I heard things.
It didn't follow the plot right. It was.
I think that's where you get into taking something that has such a long run like a season and try to squish it into one movie.
Yeah.
You just lose so much of it.
Oh, you mean like the Avatar movie?
Yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh. There's no Avatar movie. What are you talking about? There's no live action Avatar movie. That doesn't exist.
There is no war of Bossing Sage.
There's no war in Boxing Say. One series that I thought got the movie treatment pretty well, but no one talks about is Full Metal Alchemist. I think the trilogy of movies that they did for Full Metal Alchemist are pretty good.
Didn't watch those. I've only watched like a couple of animes. Like I've need to finish catching up on My Hero Academia, and then I've watched One Punch Man, and then that's really bad. I want to start Naruto. Like of course, there's all the edits for like there was a chunk of time where there's a bunch of edits on TikTok and YouTube for some reason on the shorts of just Naruto edits, and I don't know where they came from. I think it's because my brother been watching. I think Google heard.
Naruto is daunting. Naruto. I watched it as it released. In fact, I was watching fan dubs of that. Because I'm a dub guy. Because I almost never just watch TV. I am always doing something else.
Oh yeah.
And so I just can't do subs. So I was watching fan dubs of Naruto back in the day, and they're surprisingly accurate. Especially, I mean, we're talking the early 2010s before Crunchyroll was as popular, before Hulu had anime. And so there's just they really worked hard. The passion behind doing these fan dubs.
Oh yeah. There's some out there. Like I think the more famous ones, like the Dragon Ball Bridge.
Oh my gosh!
There's some real famous ones out there that like people creatively really like, and all the memes spun out of it.
Oh yeah, I prefer Dragon Ball Z Abridged over Dragon Ball Z.
I think I've watched one episode of Dragon Ball Z. It was on Nicktoons because Nicktoons did a lot of reruns of it. I don't remember what episode it was. I think it was one of the first Vegeta episodes.
Wait, Nicktoons showed Dragon Ball Z?
I was going to say, that's Toonami on Cartoon Network did Dragon Ball Z.
No, it was Nicktoons. Maybe it was.
Was it Dragon Ball Z Kai?
Maybe.
I think Dragon Ball Z Kai may have run on WB, and Viacom might have gotten that one. But I think WB tends to more coincide with Cartoon Network.
Maybe. I don't know. It was years ago, so I don't remember it. Like I said, it was one episode.
Huh.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, Cartoon Network had a lot of Warner Brothers stuff, but I got introduced to Dragon Ball Z on Toonami and Cartoon Network, and I've watched all of them since then. So
I thought you were going to say the movie. If we're going to keep talking about,
I have not watched the movie.
There is no live action Dragon Ball Z movie. No.
What are you talking about?
There's no live action Avatar. There's no live action Dragon Ball Z. It don't exist.
The only thing that made me mildly curious about the Dragon Ball movie was the fact that Jackie Chan was Roshi. But even then, I was like, I can't do it.
Was he?
I think he was.
What? No, what?
There's a Google.
Yes, I'm using.
I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure Jackie Chan was Roshi.
Dragon Ball.
I mean, I know he was in the remake of Karate Kid as Mr. Miyagi.
Audience, we're looking this up to check this out.
I don't think any big actors in there.
No, it's Chow Yun Fat.
Chow Yun Fat.
Yeah.
Chow
Is that the guy from Kill Bill?
Maybe. But James Marsters King Piccolo.
No, nice.
Wait, who is?
What am I
James
thinking?
Marsters, the guy from Buffy.
I don't know which guy that is. I haven't seen Buffy.
Oh, okay. I haven't either, but he's been in a bunch of stuff. You probably would see him if you noticed him. I don't recognize any of these other actors because someone was talking about some of these actors. I know Ernie Hudson's in it, which is
What?
strange. He's in Dragon Ball. He's Sifu Norris or Sifu Norris. I don't know if he's like a big character in Dragon Ball. I don't remember if he is.
I remember there was a bunch of characters named after martial arts guys in the original Dragon Ball,
That tracks.
like Jackie Chung, which was
Oh.
Roshi. Oh, that you
Yeah,
know that might be where
That
you
was
get
Roshi's
mixed up.
disguise.
Roshi's disguise is Jackie Chung, which is a
Yeah.
reference to Jackie Chan.
Right.
I think that's what it is. I'm like, I was gonna believe you. I'm like, yeah, around that time. Yeah, it was around that time when Jackie Chan was a bunch of kid movies at the time.
Mhm.
And the reason
Who would you-
the reason for that is because of like insurance. Because like they won't let him do his own actions since in America. Because like he'll insist that he'll do it himself. So that's why for a while he's doing a bunch of kid movies.
That's weird. Huh.
Like it's odd.
Huh.
He's great as Master Splinter in that new Ninja Troll movie.
Really, I haven't seen it.
But turning to like it's still the same thing, but content, do you have like or like any Christian content that like influenced you in a way when you got started?
When I got started,
Okay,
creators like I'm trying to remember her name. I kind of stopped watching her stuff because she started going off the rails when she got really, really popular. She got millions of followers. What was her name? Liv Pearsall.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, her dad and my dad worked together when we were kids. So, like, I actually knew her when I was a little kid, but did not know I knew her. And so I tried reaching out in the early days, and her content really kind of, I saw, oh, she's doing a bunch of Bible content, and she's doing well. There's a market for this. Her stuff, Abby was another creator who I befriended very early on. Then when I started doing the Christian Geek stuff, Spider Sam was another creator, and her and I are still friends. We joke that she is Donnie and I's TikTok daughter because she kind of looks like Donnie, but then she kind of has more of my personality. And so people were joking in the comments that, oh, this is your secret daughter that we never knew about because she's a little bit younger than Donnie and I. And we actually did our first video together when Donnie and I went to Disneyland or Disney World last year. But yeah, there was just a lot of people out there. TikTok back when it was the Wild West and people were just making everything, and everything was so unrefined. I think that's kind of been the thing that TikTok has changed so much. Is there's so much refined, heavily edited content now. But that's the kind of stuff that inspired me at first was the ease of entry.
Yeah. I think that's where I did find you was Abby.
Really?
I think one of your videos that popped up next, or like you two were promoting something you guys were working on. Because I know, didn't you guys work together for a bit?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Working together.
She's the reason I have my day job. We became friends over the years, and she was family friends with the president of the company I work for, and they are basically go to school assemblies and give talks to kids at school assemblies. They're faith-based. And COVID hit and they can't go to school assemblies because schools aren't meeting.
Right.
And so she tells them you should try using TikTok. And that led to them hiring a full-time content creator and social media director. And now I run a team of content creators for them. And she was the one who suggested me for them.
Nice.
But she still does stuff for us. It's called Sports World Ministries. And she still comes and does videos for us. If you go to official_sports_world, on TikTok, you'll see a bunch of videos of hers. In fact, that account started as her first TikTok account that got permabanned. And then she started a new one, which ended up getting like 50,000 followers. And when she got that permaban reversed, she was like, oh, this is 14,000 followers. My other account has more. Do you want me to turn this into a Sports World account? And she did. So she started us out starting with 15,000 followers.
Nice.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we still do stuff together. We'll probably do some stuff together in October because we have a big company-wide meeting and retreat, and she usually comes to those. So you guys might see some more collab stuff coming up soon.
Yeah, it was funny at my church. They were promoting something. It was for Sports World. I guess someone was speaking. I don't remember who it was. Whoever works for Sports World. And I was like, oh, I kind of know those. Not know them, but I'm like, yeah, I've seen their content. And some of my friends in our young adult group, this is before they started the young adult group at our church. They were like, what are you talking about? And this is before I really promoted that I do like YouTube content. Like, like my parents knew, but like I never would like tell like some like one of our guys that are on here, he hasn't been on here. He knew I did it, but like other than that, like not a lot of my friends knew that I made like YouTube videos. And then so I was like, yeah, I saw one of their videos. Like this was before I really got into it. It was like one of those weird things where you're just like you're just scrolling and then you don't expect to see it out there. I don't remember what it was for. I think they were speaking at some of our schools.
Yeah, well, that's what we do is we go to schools and then we do, because they can't really give the gospel at public schools. So what they do is they invite the kids to these night events at churches, and that's where they give them the gospel. What pro was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember what it was. I didn't recognize the name of whoever it was. And this is a while ago. This maybe was like a year ago.
Yeah.
But the weird thing in our schools here, they at least maybe they've changed it. They would let you come to the schools. They might have changed it around here because like the person that I get superintendent for a lot of schools, he did allow a lot of that. So my mom kind of was part of some of it at some point. But yeah, it's just one of those weird things that like that run into each other. It's strange.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those things. Like when I run into someone who's seen my videos, I'm just surprised, because I'm not huge. I'm huge, but I'm not huge. The weird one was at my church. I was helping check people in, and this couple walks up to me, and they're a little older than me. They're look like they were in their late 30s, early 40s, and they say, hey, our 9-year-old loves your videos. They recognized me. And I was like, your 9-year-old shouldn't be watching my videos. Because I'm not, like I said before, I'm not dirty, but I do talk about marriage. And one of my things is about destigmatizing some of the stuff around sex within marriage. And so some of my content talks about that. And so I'm like, while I'm trying to destigmatize it, a 9-year-old maybe still shouldn't be watching my stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Especially because I also know about violent stuff.
Oh yeah. I still get weirded out when people will talk about. I was at Books a Million. I was just getting coffee, and this lady behind me, she's like, "Hey, are you got the guy on Facebook that does the food reviews?" And I was like, "What?" And this is I always forget to post to Facebook because I really focus on YouTube and Instagram, and TikTok. I try to those are my main three. And I was like, maybe. Grabbed my coffee and left because I was so weirded out. I didn't want to be mean, but I was like, oh, someone was watching my stuff, which shouldn't have weirded me out because other people, a lot of my friends have watched my stuff, and my grandma will post it occasionally. So which is awesome, but it's that one weirded me out. I don't know why, but it did. But I feel bad for whoever that was. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, especially because it's one of my very close friends from high school. Her younger sister watches my content, and I've never actually really met her younger sister because we actually more became friends late high school, early college. Right. and we're like in a weekly Bible study together. Her and her husband and me and Donnie and a bunch of other couples are in a Bible study together. And she said my sister is like too nervous to come up and talk to you at church. And I'm sitting there like, we're at church. We're all one body here. Your sister's at least known of me since long before TikTok because she's known we were friends. And it's just weird because I'm not famous by any stretch of the imagination. I just have a very core group of people that know who I am. And so it's weird when people are starstruck to meet me. Because I am in no way a star.
Right.
I'm just a dude.
I get the reverse of that. So I'm part of our kids ministry at church, and the lady that runs it, her granddaughter will run up to me whenever I go over there. I do it once a month, like we rotate out. And she runs up to she knows me. We're we're pretty close friends. Like she's way younger than me, but like she sees me like her older friend. Like she has a couple of those people, and she's like, "Hey, I watch your dad's video, or my dad watches your videos on TikTok," and she just runs away. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Like every time she sees me, that's what she says, and just runs off.
That's hilarious.
Which is weird. I'm like, yeah, I watch my stuff. I have no problem people, younger kids watching my stuff. I don't know. You've kind of already voiced this for really made for older people, like unintentionally and unintentionally. I'm like, yeah, you could watch it. I might say something really weird they might not understand. Like I'll make a weird joke about something for whatever I'm reviewing, but go right ahead. I really don't care. Apparently, I got my brother in trouble at school because of something I said. He goes to a Baptist Bible college.
Oh no! I already know where this is going.
So I don't remember what I said, but apparently someone higher up at the school overheard it, and he got in trouble because of me. He told my mom that.
College?
Yep. I don't remember what it was, and he won't tell me which video it is to rewatch to hear what I said. I could have said anything. So
before the church I went to now, I went to two Baptist churches. One would completely shock anyone that was Baptist. And then the other one would confirm every stereotype about Baptist that everyone has.
Right.
There's a wide swath that the Baptists fall under.
Yeah. Long skirts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
just
denim,
so you know,
the denim dresses.
We covered this a couple episodes ago, but I am Baptist. So
Oh, you're Baptist?
I'm Baptist. Southern Baptist.
That's the my theology is pretty close to Baptist. Just because growing up in Baptist churches, I go to an EV free church now, which is pretty much, it's very similar to Baptist in theology. And it's just funny because I went to one that was, denim skirts, Pokemon cards are evil. And then I went to one that was like, we just don't do a lot of dancing.
Right.
Oh yeah. I went to a Baptist high school.
Ooh.
So, but grew up in Pentecostal church.
How was your senior banquet?
Oh, they never did that. They never did any.
Oh, they didn't do a banquet?
So they did banquets, but like they never. People would be like, "Yeah, did you guys have like a prom?" We're like, "No." I think they did prom. They did prom 1 year.
And someone got pregnant.
No, but you got so in my school, my graduating class was 4 people.
Oh dang! So you were tiny little.
So this was a small school. So like, I think that's another reason why they didn't do it. It'd be like kind of weird for 4 people to do it. I think that was more of the reason. At least that's what I was told. But
that's almost as small as my graduating class. I had a graduating class of 1.
Oh geez.
I was homeschooled for high school. Yeah.
We had that conversation before too.
Yeah.
The homeschool conversation.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I hate the comments when I mention in a video where I'm homeschooled and someone goes, "Oh, it all makes sense now." I'm like, what makes sense? I don't think I'm that weird.
There's some guys, they haven't posted in a while. They got big on YouTube, like right when YouTube started. They kind of Blimey Cow. I don't know if you know who they are.
Blimey Cow. How did I know you were going to bring up Blimey Cow? I knew it was going to be Blimey Cow.
I watch more of Jordan's stuff because like he still posts more. Where it's just like him just living life and just talking about stuff. Josh, I think he's kind of just more in the background now, which is which is totally fine because content changes the older you get. Like
Yeah.
especially the older you get as brothers. But like,
Yeah.
is there any other Christian content? Because there's always a stigma on Christian content, on like whether it's good or bad. Is there something that you would show, like you would show someone to show them, like to help them, I guess?
Early
in other
Blind
ways?
Cow was one. They really inspired me because they're significantly older than, I mean, not significantly, they're like 8 years older than me. So like I'm watching them when I'm like 12. And so they really inspired me to be like, oh dang, you can do this. You can make Christian content and be funny. I'd show them that. I was just talking about just in general Christian media that isn't cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So VeggieTales was always funny until it hit Netflix.
I think a little before
VeggieTales.
that. I think a little before that. There was like a turn.
I think maybe after Jonah and the Big Whale.
Oh, the
I think
movie
that might have been
the movie that bankrupted the company.
Yeah, that might have been a little bit because then they started just doing movie parodies
Yes.
at that point. But they're also running out of Bible stories to do, and they didn't want to do anything with Jesus because they didn't want to make Jesus a vegetable, which might have been a good idea. And I think part of them, I took a lesson from them with their jokes and their wit was not just centered just in their faith, but also in pop culture. There are jokes in there that are references to Monty Python. There are jokes in there that are references to Mel Brooks films. And that style of comedy, it focused on telling jokes kind of first and telling quality jokes. And then then kind of the message. I think that was one of the things that made VeggieTales so popular. Is it was just genuinely funny. I watched it with my parents as a little kid.
Oh yeah.
And I'm trying to think of some other content. It's so little. That is Mr. Henry's Wild and Wacky Bible Stories That Are Totally True was another good one when I was a kid.
Yes.
The Chosen is a fantastic series.
Yes.
The way it's made. But the problem is there's just so much out there that's cringe. The God's Not Dead series is super cringe. The
first movie isn't bad. It's after that where even the first movie had moments, but like
the deathbed confession scene, man, he gets it. The deathbed confession scene where I'm a horrible person through the whole movie.
True.
I hate movies that always portray atheists as terrible people, because often atheists are just people that they're not like these horrible, awful people. That they might be antagonistic, but there's so many people who are just normal, everyday people that just need a little love from Christ. And anytime they make the villain this like really cartoonishly evil, like atheist. Oh, another one. A lot of these music biopics. Jesus Revolution I really liked, even though I don't always agree with Calvary Chapel's theology. I don't necessarily disagree with them. They got the core right. They got the foundations right. I'm not big on the charismatic stuff though, which was more Lonnie Frisbee anyway. And then I Can Only Imagine made me cry. War Room made me cry. Fireproof is good. It was good for its contemporaries. I think if we look back at it now, it might not be as good now. But I think because every movie tried to be fireproof for a while, that it made Fireproof lose some of its luster.
I've never watched Fireproof.
Huh?
I've never watched Fireproof.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it is. It's some melodrama in there. There's a scene where basically one of the main characters has a porn addiction, and he goes out and smashes his computer on the lawn. It's a little melodramatic of a scene, but it gets a point across. It kind of showed.
Was that Fireproof or was that Flyleaf?
Oh no, that's Courageous. That's Courageous.
Isn't Courageous?
I thought that wasn't that Flyleaf?
I don't remember.
No, it was Courageous. Has a scene where he does that.
I don't remember that scene.
Yeah, I don't think it's Flyleaf. Well, it might have been Flyleaf. I don't know. That's good.
Because I thought that was Flyleaf. Because I remember that scene.
Fireproof and Courageous mixed up because they're so similar in like tone.
Flyleaf is also made by the same people.
So
yeah, it's all the same. Yeah, Flyleaf was like the first one, I think.
Yeah, Flyleaf was the OG.
I really like Jesus Revolution. I agree with you. Like, I kind of wish they touched more on the stuff with Lonnie Frisbee.
Yeah,
But like
I felt like they could
they covered
have
part
had
of it,
more
and then
Wavos talking about that.
kind of got scared at the end.
Yeah,
But they could be working on a second. Well, I doubt they're working on a second one where they cover
no,
that, but there's no way.
The hard part is you're going to turn off a lot of your audience who is going to look at the scandal with Lonnie Frisbee and just immediately turn off to the rest of the movie. See, I already knew that stuff about Lonnie Frisbee going into it. You know,
see, I didn't know it. I looked it up and found that out later. And I was like, oh, interesting.
And they hint at it a little with the unrest he has with his wife.
Yeah.
But I think the problem was they were trying to make Lonnie Frisbee this heroic figure. And I think he was more in real life God drawing a straight line with a crooked stick, where God kind of used this person who had his own issues to soften the heart of man, I'm blanking on the pastor's name.
Greg Laurie.
Greg Laurie.
There's Greg Laurie. I can't think of his name either.
You're talking about the guy above Greg Laurie.
Yes, the guy. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, so I think the guy kind of used Lonnie Frisbee to soften. Kelsey Grammer's character. Even if Lonnie has issues of his own, and we don't know where Lonnie was at the end of his life. He always proclaimed to be a believer. He did claim he repented, and
Chuck
David.
Smith, by the way.
Huh?
What was it?
Chuck Smith was the pastor.
That's right.
Chuck Smith.
It's something very
who
simple.
turned down the role of Chuck Smith?
Who?
Jim Gaffigan.
Really?
Yeah. Jim Gaffigan was offered the role of Chuck Smith, and he turned it down. If you look at a picture of Chuck Smith, that makes a little more sense casting-wise. He turned it down, I think, because he's Catholic, and he's a liberal Catholic at that. So I don't think that was really his cup of tea.
Yeah, my brother. I was like, my dad and my mom went and saw Jesus Revolution. I text my brother. Mom and I both text him at the same time. I was like, this is the brother at Bible college. I was like, hey, you need to go see it.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, I don't think so. I'm like, why not? And I was like, he's like, well, the Lonnie Frisbee stuff.
Yeah.
And at that point, I didn't know. And I looked at him like, oh, okay. I was like, Ben, you should still watch it. Because, like I said, I grew up Pentecostal, still in Pentecostal. My brother went staunch Baptist at some point, which, as long as he's in church and like he had like, there are some disagreements I have with the Baptist church.
Yeah.
But like nothing against anyone that's Baptist, but like there are, at least at the Baptist school I was at, there was some stuff where I didn't 100% agree with, which really got evident after I left. So like I was like, but Ben, you should watch it. There are some interesting stuff you should look at in that way. But that's kind of like the point I was trying to get, like the part of the conversation where I was like I said, there isn't much Christian content that people will point out that's like cringe or like doesn't have like isn't fully like there isn't Christian content out like that isn't just it's content first and Christian second.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Jesus taught the Bible, but also he wasn't like he didn't shove it in people's faces.
Mm-hmm.
Back on what we were talking about before, like my stuff, I don't say I'm Christian. Like I think I've brought up occasionally, but it's like I still want to reach people through other ways. I think I'm stuck doing the food reviews because like food, like in a weird way, like reaches people. Like you connect through it in a weird way. Because like if you go back, look when I started, I was like doing like 3 or 4 different ideas. I was like, well, I need to truncate and focus because like the food reviews are way better than everything else I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, I'll do that. That's what. And in that way, I've gotten some like traction from people be like, hey, I watch your stuff, and like they kind of just go. It goes from there, and there's different ways, and then doing stuff like this also helps. Which is interesting because I can't think of anything else that I watch Christian content wise that like. There was one guy, Say Goodnight Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know who that is. He kind of was with the guys from Blind Macau. He did a couple of videos with them. He and I got in like a Twitter argument because of something he said, and I don't recall all what it was, but kind of nicely and tactfully, I was like, well, as Christians, da 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 da. He went and like he kind of like had like a negative, not a negative reaction to it, but he was kind of like off put by it. maybe I shouldn't have commented the way I did. This is something that happened a couple years ago. But like, it's interesting, like you're kind of saying, where some Christian content creators kind of go off the bandwagon. Like with Liv, I've kind of noticed like she goes back and forth, like on some of her stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of those that kind of go back and forth where you're like, oh, interesting.
Yeah. I think there's kind of two sides to this being Christian content creator. I'm very openly a believer. I mean, I'm that Christian geek. My tagline is God's first, geek second. But at the same time, you know, the content I make tends to be very geek forward. And then I also make Christian content. And I think for a lot of content creators who don't straight up have Christian in their name, there's one lesson that they should really learn. And that's, if you want to be a content creator who is a light, but you don't necessarily want to just make theology content, you want to make something like fast food reviews, don't use the lack of overt Christianity in your branding as a way to make content that is unchristian while living a Christian life behind the scenes. Use that content that is not branded as Christian to be a light and to be as much of a light as you can. And then when people ask, how do you have this joy in your life? How are you so kind? How are you so loving? How are you so compassionate towards others? Then you have an answer for them.
Right.
I think that is one of the hardest tightrope walks to walk. And I think that choosing to be that Christian geek, I've kind of put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that I don't overtly bring shame to God, but it's also prevented me from making kind of all the easy content that I know would be popular, but wouldn't exactly be glorifying.
Right.
And so I think that even when Christians don't have Christian in the name or a Bible verse in their bio, they need to work harder at making sure that they are constantly being a light on and off camera.
You're talking about different Christian content creators. One came to my mind that I'm surprised nobody mentioned. Of course, it's not exactly in the geek variety, but one of the bigger YouTubers is Dude Perfect.
Oh yeah, I have been trying to get them to team up with my job for years because we're a sports ministry.
Right. You would think it'd go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's somebody like them that kind of has that, what you're saying. They don't say, hey, we're branded as a Christian whatever, but it's very obvious through their content. And even sometimes their shows that they do live, they do all the stuff and then they present a message, kind of what you're saying. Why? And also the fact that we can't sit here and name this, and this, and this tells me there's room for it, that there's still room for people to make good content that is both relative to the culture, but still uplifting to our faith. So I think there's still room for that. People like, you and this podcast and us individually and what we do on media. So that kind of makes me kind of sad that there's not more, but excited at the possibility that we have the ability and the space in the content realm, I guess, to bring more to the table.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would bring up the skit guys.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Because they're absolutely hilarious, but they have a good message in there. Someone else, he's not necessarily a content creator, he's a stand-up comic, but a lot of his stuff ends up on YouTube and TikTok, but that would be Tim Hawkins.
Seen him live.
I saw him live and he was
and then
my ribs hurt.
I wouldn't say
I saw him live at church.
Yeah, I wouldn't say all of the guys from Dry Bar Comedy.
Right.
Yeah, not everyone's believers there, but they're all clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
like Henry Cho, but
there was one of them that I liked, and then he's kind of off the rails. I think after he left, which was interesting. I can't think of his name.
This guy with all the tattoos?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I saw a really interesting video about him in Dry Bar Comedy, because Dry Bar Comedy is Mormon.
Makes sense.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Dry Bar Comedy is Mormon, and it bugs me a little bit that the Mormons are the only ones leading the charge on creating clean, good content. They're the ones who do The
Right.
Chosen. They fund The Chosen, even though not everyone in the
Studio
directing
C.
Studio C.
Studio C is
You know,
hilarious, or the original OG
but they got
cast.
all the resources, too, that have that giant, organization. But he had a really interesting thing about the way he looks, that he's never been a clean comic. He's never been a wholesome comic. But no one was willing to give him a chance. He's also never been like crazy dirty, where like he's just not funny anymore to most people's taste. But he said the way he looks has prevented him from getting jobs in comedy. And the first people to give him a special were Mormons. And that's why he was on Dry Bar, because they were the only ones to freaking give him a chance. And so he says, while I am not a clean comic, I'll never, disparage clean comics, because if it wasn't for a comedy group that were super conservative Mormon, I'd had no career right now. So he's a very interesting guy.
Yeah,
I think to follow him on TikTok.
That's an issue that I have noticed, where it's like there are sadly some Christians who kind of shy away from some of the people that look a little scarier. It's or look a little odd. I have worked 2 jobs that were I'm in contact with a lot of those people, where they're all different shapes and sizes, all different looks, and growing up have never really had an issue with those people. Like in my mind, I've never had an issue with those people. Just growing up, like if you legit saw me 2 years ago, I had long hair down to my shoulders. Going to a Baptist school convention with long hair was probably the funniest thing for me, because I found it entertaining. My mom was kind of concerned, not because I wouldn't say anything dumb. It was just she didn't want me having it getting those looks. Which I never cared. I was like, if they stare at me, they can stare at me. The funny thing is they've seen me around, because this is a school thing that I had attended at that school, and which I always find interesting. But there would be people that come to our church that looked different. They'd be full of tattoos, all of that. They somehow would come to our church in some capacity. Even where our church is, it's in a little sketchier part, not the sketchiest part of town, but it's in this part of town where it's you might want to lock your door, sadly. But it's then you have my brother. I don't want to pick on my brother too much. I feel like he watches these, so he'll probably send me a text message about it, where he'd be like, well, this person looks. I'm like, Ben, they're probably thinking the same thing about you. They're seeing you all nice and dressed up, probably think, oh, he looks a little odd looking that way. That, I think that's an issue on both sides, where each group's oh, they look this way, da da da, or they think this way, da da. It's kind of that problem that I think we've kind of touched on a bit, where it's when it comes into content creators, either way, how they get viewed. And like you said, I never thought of the Mormons being the charge of that. And I never thought of that until I was thinking about it. I was like, oh yeah, Studio C is Mormon.
Yeah. And I get that with the way you look kind of deal, because a lot of people look at a guy my size, and I'm not gonna play the victim or the pity card, because I look the way I look because of my choices. Right. I didn't eat right for years, didn't exercise right, still don't. It's a real struggle for me to try and get healthy, especially now I've had a daughter. I wanna be healthy for her. And we live in a society that's so oh, don't be fat phobic, don't judge people based on their looks, but people judge based on how someone looks, and they see a chubby guy and they just scroll right past.
Right.
And that is one of the things I've noticed even in the Christian community. It's the good-looking people that make it. Good-looking and talented, but it's the good-looking people that make it. And it's harder. I think in the Christian community there's an even bigger stigma with chubby people. Because there's a rightness to the fact that this is not a God glorifying way to live my life of being chunky. I want to make my body a temple and be healthier. It's just the thing I struggle with. It's really hard to deal with. But it's hard getting your foot in the door in a lot of places based on the way you look. If you're not just that right look.
My joke, because I'm a bigger fella too. My joke is the Bible says the body is the temple of the Lord, and I'm trying to build a mega church.
Gosh dang it, that's funny. That's another character I just thought of that I really like because like they did T-shirts. Sunday Cool.
Sunday Cool. I think I've heard of
Do you know
that.
who those guys are? So they started. So they started. They're from Florida. They started out just doing T-shirts. Their company has T-shirts.
Huh.
And then they started doing.
Oh yeah.
To advertise, they started.
The guy with the long hair and the beard.
Yeah, and it's Christian content. Yeah. And I was like, oh, these guys are funny, and like, oh, they have T-shirts. Like these guys are really hilarious. They have their own podcast, like and everything.
Yeah.
And they do it in an interesting way where it's like it's catch-all content, like it's all like church tropes, stuff like that, but it's in a way where it's like it kind of shows people what the church is, also like poking fun.
Yeah, it reminds me of early YouTube Christian content.
Oh yes.
And like John Chris content and Blimey Cow. It's kind of got that same vibe.
John Chris is an interesting person.
Yeah.
Ever since the whatever allegation he had, like it's been interesting trying to watch him for whatever's going on with him a couple years ago about what wasn't it he had
something sexual in nature, as I recall.
Was it that?
Yeah, he was it was all like consenting stuff and stuff like that, but there was some, he was famous, so it even though it was consenting, it was a little bit of an abuse of his fame, and also being a believer, he shouldn't have been doing it. Yeah. And it's very interesting to see how, he repented of that. He went and got counseling for it. And it's interesting how people have kind of brought him back into the fold after.
Yeah.
For the most part. And I think that's good, as long as we don't just turn a blind eye. I think that was a big part of it. People weren't turning a blind eye to what he did. He went and made things right, got right with the Lord, got his walk back on path, and then came back.
Which again goes back to what we were talking. This is a whole conversation we had a couple weeks ago. I think it was our second episode. Second episode.
Second one, yeah.
So, but try to think what else. Oh, I do have one question for you. It's like I noticed you do a lot of vignettes. You have characters. Was that the first conceit when you started doing it, or was it just something that just came?
All the different characters I do? Karen came out of some comments that I was getting. And this was back in the towel phase of TikTok, where if you wanted to play a girl character, you put a towel on your head.
As you do.
As you do. That was the early days, the Wild West of TikTok. And eventually I got a wig for the various Karens. And yeah, I've always loved playing characters. I'm a little bit like Monkey D. Luffy. I'm a rubber man. I like to play big, crazy characters as often as I can. Even when I play myself, I mean, probably from this conversation, you guys have noticed that I'm not as I am on screen. When I'm playing myself, I'm a caricature of myself. And it's just it's one of the things I love doing. So from the very beginning, I was playing wild characters. I was playing crazy people and people who yell a lot.
Yeah, I'm very much the same way. Like a lot of my friends, if I'm in a social setting, I have like bouts and moments where I'm like high octane, high energy. There's sometimes where I'm just sitting there, I'm just listening. With my videos, I've tried spicing them. I'll have characters occasionally. Over the last like 3 or 4 months, I've been reinventing a lot of stuff on the channel. Just like because I think I've finally found my editing style. I've finally found some things for the channel. And I do want to bring some of those characters back because they're fun characters I like doing. But like I don't want to do the characters and not have a fun joke.
Yeah.
Like I don't want them there to like crowd the video and not have the point of the video. Because at the point it's just me reviewing something. But occasionally I'm like, oh, that's funny. Or outside the regular reviews, I tried doing like I got influenced by a toy review called Few Atoms. And he does knockoff knockouts where he'll like find knockoff Transformers and he'll like bust them in his backyard. So I was like, yeah, there's some knockoff stuff around here because I live in the Midwest and we have a crap ton of knockoff stuff that I could do a video on. So I'm like, oh, that's like a video segment, and I was like, but also I like binging with Babish. So it's like, oh, I want to do something like that. And I was like, well, I'll create a character for that. It's just a character of like binging with Babish and like a lot of my critiques. So like whenever I do the characters, like I have to have a good joke for it. I think it's like my problem. Like when I first started the channel, the whole channel was it's a character. It's me as a character, like as a character of myself. I'm like, but that's not fun to me. Like it's me, but it's not me. So like you notice the channel if you go watch my channel, it changed. The couple names have changed, which my advice don't do that because then it's really hard for people to find you because they keep changing the name. But like that was kind of like that's something I had noticed. You have some characters like I guess it's hard keeping track of some of those characters, or like keep coming up with ideas for it. Especially it's now it's harder, dealing with a kid.
Yeah,
just keeping it going.
I've tried bringing Karen back a few times, but I felt like Karen had her time in the sun and had her place, and the jokes started just repeating themselves.
Right.
It started becoming too formulaic where I say something, I set up a completely different video, Karen comes in, I verbally smack her down, and then usually something bad happens to Karen at the end. But the ones I love doing is when the two Karens would both show up. The right-wing Karen and the left-wing Karen would show up and argue with each other. That was always fun.
Does anyone else have anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I was going to add to that, talking about the characters and the Christian content we were talking about earlier. It reminded me of the fact that a big TikToker, a lot of people probably have seen at some point, is Sam Van Fossen. He does the death guys.
Yeah.
Hey, you're dead. I'm death, and let's get the paperwork started. Right, that guy. I didn't realize he was a Christian. Then he came out with a video talking about his faith on one point, and it was like, dude, like that's awesome. It's like there's a lot of hidden Christians out there, which is really cool. Yeah,
I was like, what? This is awesome. Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah,
I'm death, you're dead. Let's get the paperwork started.
Yeah, so it's really cool to know that there are a lot of good Christian people out there that you may not realize at first that are Christian, and they have a lot of content and there's tons of followers, and then you just find that out and you're just like, it just blows you away. I don't know.
And then you watch a lot of the content, you're like, makes sense.
Yeah. Because it keeps it clean, but you don't like think about that as you're watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys know the voice of the character Pan in Dragon Ball Z?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Her English voice actor is a believer.
Really?
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
She came up to my table at another con, the first con we did. I said, "I love what you're doing. It's good to have some representation for us at these cons." I'm like, "Oh, what? The voice actress of Pan is a believer?" That was really cool. I didn't realize who she was until she said that, and then I watched her walk back to the tables and sit down at her table, and that's when it clicked who she was. Yeah.
But speaking of going with Abby, you also work with I think she was one of the first people I found on TikTok. I liked a lot of her how she put it was Elizabeth Gibson.
Yeah. E. Gibson 007. Yeah, she's still doing stuff with Sports World. She does so she's been doing some figure skating stuff lately and some other stuff with her job, and she hasn't done as much with Sports World. She's done a couple videos recently, but yeah, she was one of our first people that we hired to work under me, and she's brought a lot of views and a lot of content. And she's been really good for Sports World. It's been a lot of fun working with her.
Right on. Anyone else want to bring up anything? I think we've really covered a lot. So anyone else got anything else?
Don't think so.
Okay. So Jake, do you want to say anything before you leave?
Well, it's been a lot of fun. This is my very first podcast I've ever been a part of, besides my own that I did a few years ago that kind of died.
Wow.
And I will probably be. I'm looking into bringing a podcast back again. Kind of just working on the title right now. That'll interview some industry professionals. I got some people like Kirk Thatcher from the creature creation shop for Return of the Jedi, but also if you ever seen Star Trek 4, which one? Journey Home?
Which
The
one?
one with the whales. Star Trek with the whales. He's the guy in the bus with the mohawk and the radio that Spock knocks out. He said that he'd be willing to do an interview. There's a few people that I'm looking at interviewing on that. So be on the lookout for that. Don't know the title yet. Check out that Christain Geek's Instagram for new updates on that. Those Christain Geek members will get early access to that when it does come out.
The link is down below if you want to join, if you haven't joined yet.
Link is down below. I always forget to say that part. And yeah, currently working on a feature film idea. I think I've discussed it on both TikTok and the Discord of a hard R anthology film for Bible stories that they don't tell you in Sunday school. Things like Ehud and Eglon and JL. And just I have some really creative ideas I'm going to do with those. Different media styles, just working on writing the script out right now, and then that'll probably be crowdfunded in the future. Other than that, I got them.
Right on.
It's been an honor to have you with us.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been great being on here. There's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Do it again sometime.
We'll have you back.
Yeah, so some of our guests aren't here, so you could find Talon at Geek Gallery Art on Instagram, SillyBoy, SillyBoy on YouTube. The links are all down below. I can't remember them all. Sketchbird, you find she's on Twitch, in a couple other places.
She's on Twitch and YouTube.
Twitch and YouTube at Sketchbird.
She has some Instagram stuff too. So
yes, and Strange, where can they find you?
So I'm on Twitch. I'm also on YouTube. On Twitch, I'm Strange to Society. On YouTube, Strange Plays Games. I also have my Christian lyric channel, Strange Music or Strange Lyrics, which is almost at 30,000 subs. I'll probably reach that in a couple days. So that's doing pretty good. We started a brand new channel, collaboration between myself, Sketchbird, SillyBoy, and Hufflesnitch, who has not been a part of these podcasts, but she is part of those Christian Geeks. And that channel is called Kingdom Streamers, and we actually have some videos up right now. They've been uploading, so it's fun. We did Pico Park, so just a lot of chaos and mayhem doing that. So check that out. Once again, that's Kingdom Streamers on YouTube.
Nice.
So
Crad, they can't find you anywhere, right?
Maybe. In their dreams.
Oh, okay. You can find me at Nathan Festock Food Reviews on YouTube and anywhere else at FT_Festock Food Reviewers. The main two I really focus on is Instagram and TikTok and kind of Thread. Anywhere else, I might be there, but I always forget to post to those places. A video you should check out. It's coming out. Has come out, is coming out with Mortal Kombat 1 coming out. I found the Mortal Kombat G Fuel, the eyeshadow one for Mortal Kombat 11, because I didn't think they were going to do one for the new game. And then as soon as I cut the video together, they announced one. So yeah, that was fun. That was a frustrating thing to add to the video. So you can go find me there. And you can find Long Distance Pizza Party Podcast on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok, where I accidentally posted one of my videos to the page on accident, because I didn't realize I was on the wrong page. So, hope you guys have a good rest of your day. We don't have an ending tagline, or if we do, we need to come up with one. We'll think of it. You guys have a good rest of your day.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
May God bless.
You guys around.
Yep.